Hello, friends. I know it's been a tough time for all of us due to the COVID pandemic and the lockdown. And several students, defense aspirants, have been calling me up or sending me messages as they are worried as to what's going to happen in the future. When is the SSB going to start? How much time they will have before they have to appear for the SSB? More importantly, how should they use this lockdown period effectively so as to perform well in the SSB? Well, yes, it's a difficult time, and I have individually replied to many of them uh, and guided them as to how they should go about. But I thought this is also perhaps the right time for me to pull out a few hours in the larger interest of the defense aspirants and dwell on certain very important topics of the SSB. And I thought I would come out with a series of free webinars and talk about something very basic. And I know some of you or many of you may think that this video is not going to give much of a value addition because we all know what OLQs are. But friends, let me tell you, the real fact is most of you take these OLQs very lightly. You do not understand these OLQs. And this is my personal realization after having spent so many years, almost a decade now, in guiding defense aspirants through this. Why do I say that officer-like qualities are not known to most of you? I know you're going to be laughing at me, and we know there are 15 OLQs and there are 4 factors. The first one is called the planning and organizing, etc., etc. Please understand that's not enough. When students come to AFPA, again and again I tell them, read these OLQs, not from the point of view of memorizing what these OLQs are or what the definition is, but you must read these OLQs at least 4 times with the intention of assimilating the basic essence of or the meaning of that particular OLQ. Of course, when they are there with me in AFPA, I keep telling them how their behavior impacts which quality or how it is reflecting a particular quality in poor light, or it is validating or it is confirming a particular quality in the mind of the assessor. That may not be possible in this webinar, but definitely I shall try my best, putting all my experience behind, to tell you what are these OLQs, what is the essence of it, and how does this get assessed in all the 3 techniques, each one of them, and how should you inculcate this so that when you go and perform there you are naturally good. Please understand, there are no short tricks. This is not mathematics exam of JEE mains or JEE advanced where there are short tricks of solving a problem quickly. Please understand, SSB, there are no short tricks. It is your understanding, it is your introspection as to how you should develop these and how you go about and project yourself well in the SSB. And that is what is going to be my endeavor, while in a classroom setting or in any other setting, it may not be possible to dwell upon this so much, but I am going to really do this, and maybe I hope that this is going to help most of you in understanding what these OLQs are. Also, let me tell you out of my own personal experience. When I was a young boy of your age, and when I was aspiring to clear the SSB, what did I have? I had a small book having about 80 odd pages in that, written by one retired major. And these 80 pages, out of these 80 pages, about 40 pages, he covered what OLQs are. He explained with examples what these OLQs are and how we could develop this, right? And the remaining 40 pages were a brief description of the various tests that are conducted in this. And I'm sure, you know, today if I give that book to anybody, he would write a remark or he would write a review of this book. There's a very basic book and everybody knows, all aspirants know this. Fine. Let me tell you, it is wrong. Your perception of this is wrong. When I was a young boy, I read this book 4 or 5 times. Because that's all I had. There was no internet, there was no Google, there was no coaching center. There was one odd, but then we couldn't afford to go there and get trained. So what do we do? So I kept on reading this book, and each time I read this portion of the OLQs, it gave me greater clarity. And after having understood the basics of these OLQs, the essence of these OLQs, I started introspecting that if there is a psychological test and if I need to write a story, how am I reflecting these qualities? How am I supposed to be? How should I used to introspect because nobody would tell us, nobody would tell me. So I used to introspect on my own. How can I project these OLQs when I am writing a story? Right? And let me tell you, I cleared my SSB in the first attempt. And down the line, I went on to become an assessor. And it's been almost a decade now that I am guiding students. And I'm sure many of you know about AFPA and the success stories that we produce in AFPA. In AFPA, we don't give you tricks, short tricks, because there cannot be any. Okay, like some of I heard some assessor got offended by our success story, and he made a video on that and posted it on YouTube. But let me tell you, there are no shortcuts, and I firmly believe that there are no shortcuts in AFPA. We only deal with principles behind each technique, each test, and we talk more about the qualities, how it gets assessed, how one should project, and more importantly than projection, how one should inculcate. And that's why we proclaim very openly, and I keep telling every time, that you should never walk into the SSB out of AFPA. Once you come here well in advance. This is perhaps the only opportunity where somebody will look at you very closely and tell you where you need to develop, what you need to develop, and we'll also tell you how to develop that, right? And then you need to have time with you to go ahead and prepare yourself on those lines. And all those students who took our words seriously and who worked hard based on what we taught them, well, they all found success, and that's the secret. So I'm going to unravel this secret, though it may sound very fundamental to you, but let me assure you it is not very fundamental. So since you all know that there are 15 officer-like qualities which are broken down into 4 factors: factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 4. And since I intend to deliberate on each OLQ at great length, I didn't want to club everything together and make a mess of the whole thing in about 1 hour and then give it to you with half-cooked interpretations. I'm going to divide this webinar into 4 parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about the factor 1 that comprises of 4 qualities, and today's objective agenda is to understand these 4 OLQs, how it get assessed, how you can develop these, and how you can go ahead and project better when you go to the SSB. Before I get on to this, let me tell you something very seriously. And that is that SSB is not a rocket science. SSB is really not very tough. SSB is fairly simple. And let me tell you, it pains me, every time, every batch, every student I interact with, I keep telling them that, you know, over a period, because of so many online mediums, so many academies, people have made a balloon out of it, a huge balloon out of it. I just want to prick one hole and puncture it. Please understand, it's very basic. And let me also tell you, most of us have it in us. Okay, it is just that we do not know what is seen, what it means, what should I do to project it better. And if you get this fundamental right, and if you put in a little bit of hard work, I can tell you this is not a rocket science. Okay, those who clear the SSBs are not some people from Mars and Venus. Those who have cleared SSB and become officers are not something outstanding. Nothing. They're average human being. In my understanding of last 10 years and about 3 years of my assessment, I became an assessor in 2004. It is just that you don't know what you are looking for. You may say, I know 15 OLQs, but that's not enough. So this is going to be a very fundamental session if you think it is fundamental. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the thing that you should master. You should have a complete understanding of, and I can assure you, you will not go wrong. Right? Well, guys, out of the 15 OLQs, the first 4 OLQs are put under factor 1, and what we call it as planning and organizing. Now, what is this? We need certain skills in us to plan and organize any activity, event, or tackle a situation, isn't it? We plan and organize almost every moment of our life, and this is nothing specific to SSB. If you're going to school, you're going to college, you need to plan. Or tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, I have to go. So I need to have my breakfast. I need to get up. Maybe you work backwards and you say that I need to get up at 6. I need to do my workout, have my change, have my breakfast, and leave the house by about 8 o'clock so that I'm there at 9 o'clock. What is this? This is planning. And once you have planned your schedule, then you go ahead and organize yourself. Right? So 6 o'clock you get up, by 8 o'clock you need to leave the house. So obviously you need to have your dress ready, you need to have your workout dress ready, you need to see to it that your grocery or for the breakfast is ready. You need to organize all the resources, and once you get up at 6 o'clock, then put these resources to correct use, and only then will you be able to leave your house at 8 o'clock and be there at work at 9 o'clock. This is as basic as that. Okay. So there's nothing so great, or there's nothing so scientific, or there's nothing out of the box that we are looking for in the SSB. Now, what goes into planning and organizing? Now, what are those skill sets, or what are those qualities that determine whether you are a good planner and you are a good organizer? So we did a study, we found out that to be a good planner and an organizer, one needs to have these 4 qualities. The first one is effective intelligence. Right? Now let me tell you, effective intelligence is not your IQ. Okay? Intelligence quotient is measured using paper pencil test or some kind of computer based test. That's not what it is. Effective intelligence is your ability to put, or your ability to find a solution to a day-to-day problem, right? Now, suppose I'll take the same example that you need to go for a very important meeting, be at office at 9 o'clock. So you know that you need to be well dressed and you need to perhaps be in your formals. If you are a good planner, you will not wake up at 6 o'clock and then look for your dress at quarter to 8 and then you find that there are two buttons missing in your blazer. So if you're a good planner, what would you do? You will check it up well in time. You organize everything, right? Now you don't have two of your. You find that you don't have two of your buttons of your blazer, and you need to be there tomorrow morning. Now what do you do? There are multiple options available to you, right? Either you have two spare buttons and you have a needle and thread set, so you sit and quickly switch it up and you prepare things. One way of doing it. Other, suppose you don't have all this and it's too late to go to a shop and get this, right? You may be having somebody next door or in your apartment who's your colleague or who's your friend working in some other organization. You may just give him a quick call and find out, guy, whether he has a spare blazer for tomorrow, and this is the situation. And he says, yeah, no problem, you can wear this, and you go and pick it up. There are multiple options, right? So to evaluate these multiple options and find a solution that is practical, that is feasible, and that enables you to achieve your objective of being in your office at 9 o'clock requires effective intelligence. Your ability to find a solution to a given problem, to a given day-to-day problem. And in the entire SSB set, remember this, all the tests put together, there is nothing that is asked beyond your day-to-day experience. You will never find that you are a scientist in NASA and you are going to go to moon in a rocket and the cryogenic engine suppose it fails in between. I mean, obviously that's beyond your intellectual level at this stage. That is something which is very unfamiliar to you when you are a young boy of 12th or a young graduate. That is never asked. Everything revolves around basics, your day-to-day life, be it on the streets, in office, at home, in school, in playground. So that requires effective intelligence, your ability to quickly find a solution to a given problem in order to achieve your objective. Right? Now, what is so great about it? What is so great about it? Or why we are not able to put across this very simply in the SSB? Let me tell you. It's because we think that they're looking for something much bigger or something much more complex. So we tend to complicate the whole situation unnecessarily rather than being to the point and addressing that issue which is right in front of us. Now suppose a guy says that I have to spare buttons in the coat itself or in the blazer itself and I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to restitch it. And if he's a very organized guy, he will have a set of threads, needles for such emergencies. And if he's not so organized, but at least he will have some friends, he will contact somebody, quickly get it and do it and go to sleep. Many such things may happen. You need to go to the office, you find that one of the laces of your shoes broken, or it is very weak, and when you're tying it, it's going to break. And you are aware of it because you have been wearing that, one day it's going to part. Okay? So now you need to find a solution. How am I going to do this? If you're a well-organized guy, you will keep a pair of laces at home. You'll have a brush, you'll have a polish that differentiate between an organized guy and a disorganized guy. Even if you're not organized, suppose the resource is not available to you, how to fetch it, how to get it from somebody quickly and solve the problem. Ultimately, my objective is to reach office at 9 o'clock well dressed with the blazer on. Beat it. As long as you can do that ethically, as long as you can organize, or you can find a solution, and you can uh, effectively achieve your objectives, good enough for us. That's it. Is this clear? So you don't have to be artificial. Do not expect something out of the box. Do not expect anything very big in this SSB. Nobody's asking you for that. But it is unnecessarily, most of the candidates, they make things very complex. Right? Don't do that. That's my advice. Keep it very simple and be effective. Be effective in giving a solution that's very practical and will achieve the objective. Now, how does this get assessed in the various techniques? Your intelligence gets reflected in many forms in the assessment. Broadly, there are two forms. One is the abstract form, the other is the practical form. Now, in the abstract form, which are, or to broadly put it, if you look at the psychological test, it's abstract. There are certain situations, there are certain images on which you have to write a story, there are certain situations on which you have to give your solutions, there are certain words where you need to construct a sentence, and ultimately the last one is, of course, self description. Okay. Now, if you see these are abstract tests. You may write whatever. Okay, you're free to write whatever. You may assume that you have a pair of buttons and you have everything, and you will just quickly in 2 minutes you will stitch them up and go to sleep. Very good. A well organized guy. Okay. That's how the psychological test assesses your effective intelligence. Suppose there is an image shown to you and you are able to fairly grasp the image well and weave a constructive story. I mean, I don't know why people find writing a story on an image so difficult. It is because they are trying to write out of the box stories. Now, I don't understand this. What is this out of the box story? And we are not looking for that. You see an image, you perceive the image correctly, and you write a constructive story. What it could be, you just need to describe what must have happened before and what is happening now and what is the likely outcome. And if you are a fairly positive guy, by your attitude or by your approach, you will come to a good positive conclusion, and you will describe the past and describe what is happening now, and you will with a normal story. But it is this tendency to make the story out of box, complex, or I don't know from where all this is coming, because when a natural boy of 10th standard or a graduate, when he goes to the SSP without any coaching or any training, he's going to be his natural self. And his stories are going to be related to his day to day life, what he has seen and what he has gone through in his life. Right? So you be very natural. You don't have to write in. The whole problem is because of multiple sources in the internet, the multiple methods of teaching, which confuses you. For God's sake, don't do that. Be your natural self. Now, people find very difficult to approach some of the images. Okay, positive images, people generally write a good story. Negative images. Now, suppose there is a dead body. They presume to be a drama, they presume to be something else. Why are you presuming? I mean, if you were not coached or you are not gone through any resources, and if suddenly somebody shows you a dead body and you say, "What is this?" You say it's a dead body. You say it's a dead body. Why are you running away? The running away happens, one, naturally, you don't want to go through a stressful situation if you are naturally built like that. Otherwise, it is your wrong way you have been, or you have been told the wrong way, right? And it's unfortunate. If it is a dead body, look at it as a dead body, and you can still have a positive story. Let me tell you this. What led to the death? That is the past. What is happening now is dead. So what is going to be the lesson learned out of this death, and what is the positive impact that it's going to cause to that main character of yours who is standing by the dead body, or who is doing whatever is pushing the stretcher, or whatever the situation is, right? So if you're going to you be your natural self, for God's sake, don't get influenced by there are all kind of resources, okay? And whatever you see the way it is. Don't run away from it. I don't, as an assessor, we don't want to see somebody not recognizing a dead body, and he's saying that it's a drama which is happening, and this is a school drama, and then the storyline is like this. I mean, why are you avoiding it? Do not avoid. Be your natural self. And let me tell you, the situations that come in your SRT, the situations, the images that are shown to you are not some very awkward kind of a thing. It's very natural that we have all seen in and around us. There may be some accident, there may be death, somebody in the water. You may see those kind of stuff. It's very natural. So we all have seen react naturally. That is my advice to you. Now, when you write a story, how does this come to you? From where does this come to you? Where does this story come to you? Please understand this. Our human memory is not abstract. Our human memory is real. It's like your random access memory of the computer. So what you store, so will you retrieve. So if I have to be very imaginative, a lot of assessors, a lot of trainers, a lot of coaches, you must write imaginative story, and the boy asked me, so what is this imagination? How can I improve my imagination? Why, there is nothing like that. Please understand. You relate to a image based on your past experience. What has been your past experience? Now, experiences are what? Experience need not be that you have handled the death case, you have handled the accident case. You don't have to experience everything in life. Not required. But you must have read, you must have heard from somebody, you must have seen in the media, in the TV, right? Something happened, somebody did something. There are so many things that keep happening in and around us every day. So it is not the experience that you have physically handled or you have gone through, but the experience gathering happens through your reading. So more you read, the more you associate yourself with what is happening in and around us by watching news on a regular basis, by watching constructive video programs or TV programs. Your imagination will automatically develop. It is not imagination, it is basically you are putting a lot of experiences into your RAM, which is your memory. And when you see an image, one of those experiences which is very similar to what the image depicts will pop up automatically. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to scratch your brain to write a constructive, imaginative story the way it is being told. It will naturally happen. So what should you do if you are a defense aspirant? The minimum you should do is develop good reading habits, I would say, right? Real life stories. Read. There are plenty available. Okay. Today you all are blessed to have internet. At the same time, there is a lot of information overload in the internet. So you need to be choosy what you need to read. Don't read unwanted stuff. Read something which is live, which is real, which is happening in and around us. Read the experiences of people, other people. They all form stories in your mind, right? There are, I'll give you an example, very interesting example, and I keep quoting this on and off to the students. There was a young boy by the name Shreyas Deo from Mumbai. He's a 12th standard boy. And there was one image that we were discussing in the class. And he talked about, the image was basically, you'll be surprised, the image did not have a character. It was the most difficult image that we put them through in the end. Just to, this was the PPNDT I'm talking about. Very vague. All you could barely, 25-30% of the class can make out that there is a water body, there is a boat, and there is a tree. And if Shreyas is watching this, and I'm sure he's going to laugh at me, or he's going to laugh at himself. He's going to remember the time that he spent with us. And Shreyas, I must tell you that I quote your example even today, after so many months. A very interesting story he made. And he talked about a fisherman community. See, the first thought that came to him was a fisherman community, and what prompted him? The boat, the river, and the picture was quite dark, and one could easily make out that it is a it was black, mostly black. Okay, so it was a night. There was no light, and normally, if you know, the fishermen go out to fish in the dark, in the evening, and they come back early morning. Most of them do that. Okay, and he made a story as to how one of the fishermen, and there used to be a lot of snake bites, scorpion bites when they come back barefoot from the sea early in the mornings, and they are walking on a marshy land. And he said, one of the main character that he assumed, this image did not have a character, and when you don't have a character, you can assume a character. I assumed a main character, and he said that he gathered resources, got everybody's consent, and he put up some solar lights in that area, which subsequently led to no snake bites or scorpion bites in this area. Now, see, where has this come from? He is from Mumbai, right? This is a coastal area, and I'm sure he has seen the fishermen's community. He has seen this kind of a environment in Mumbai. So he's not cooked up some story just like that, or he is not scratched his head and something popped up like that. No, it is his experience. It is what he has seen. So relate the images with your day-to-day experience. And I'm telling you, that's a brilliant story, very simple, effective story, right? So what I suggest is be aware. There are a lot of people who are not aware of their surroundings. They just go to college, school, office, come back mechanically, but they don't observe things. They just don't observe things. And let me tell you, if you ask me, which most of the assessors won't talk about, right? Before all these 15 OAQs, there are two very important things. The first thing is your inquisitiveness. See, inquisitiveness is not mentioned anywhere in the OLQs, right? How inquisitive you are. And when I talk about inquisitiveness, I always give this example of two toddlers, young children, छोटे बच्चे, बहुत छोटे बच्चे, and one child extremely mischievous. He'll go and put his finger in the plug point or the and he'll experiment, and he'll suddenly get a shock, and he'll start crying, howling. Okay, mother will be tired of this guy. Okay, he will do all kind of things. He will tear off the pillow, and he'll pull out the cotton out of it, and he'll see what the hell is there inside. If nothing, he will do susu, and he'll start playing with it. He'll create all kind of trouble, and as he grows along, he'll be the one who will open up all the equipment in the house. ये मिक्सी कैसे चलता है, ये रेडियो कैसे चलता है, ये फैन क्यों घूम रहा है, कैसे घूम रहा है. Inquisitive child, and the parents are very very tired of this child. कहते हैं बहुत ही ज्यादा शरारती है ये बच्चा, पता नहीं कहाँ से मिल गया मुझे. And I'm sure many mothers would be, cursing her own fate. यार ये कैसा बच्चा पैदा, this is a child which is most inquisitive, and just because it is inquisitive, it is finding phenomena, and it is seeking for an answer at every stage. Yeah, I saw this and I don't know why it runs like this, why it does this, why it makes such noise. And he will be restless until and unless he finds the solution. He will find the solution, and today is an internet era. He'll find a solution for it. Fantastic child, is a very brilliant, bright child. Parents won't know till he reaches wealth and qualifies for something very big. On the other hand, you'll have a contrast of this. You'll have a child, leave the child in a place, and he will be there, calm, quiet, he'll go to sleep. Absolutely no problem. Mother very happy, right? And I call this category as buffaloes. They turn out to become a buffalo later. I've seen buffalo on the road. That animal will stand on the road to jam up the entire traffic. Everybody will be honking Sanuki. Does not matter to that animal. And that's a very bad example, let me tell you. So before all these OLQs, be inquisitive, right? When you are inquisitive, then you grasp things faster. तुमने कभी क्वेश्चन ही नहीं किया. You never question. Now, there's so many such questions which the interviewing officer will ask you. Why do we measure? A mechanical engineer, many of them cannot answer this question, I can tell you. Why do we measure a refrigerator in liters and an air conditioner in tons? Mechanical engineer, he has studied this subject, thermodynamics, right? He has studied refrigeration, must have studied all this during his engineering. But नहीं पता क्यों, कभी सोचा ही नहीं इसके बारे में. You are never inquisitive, right? So if you do not question, if you're not inquisitive, then you will not question. And if you don't question, you won't get the answer. And if you don't get the answer, obviously your imagination or your ability to relate to day-to-day things are going to be limited, right? The other thing, after being inquisitive, or the other thing that leads to from the inquisitiveness, is your grasp. So when you are inquisitive, when you question, when you get an answer, you grasp it. So inquisitiveness leads to grasp. Remember this, okay? So you need to develop this habit of being inquisitive and keep asking questions to yourself. And today you're not dependent. You have Google, you have the internet. So you keep asking questions, explore, read, find out, and assimilate, and understand, grasp. Now the same thing, see how the interviewing officer will assess this. If you are waiting outside in the interview waiting room, and you enter for the interview, suddenly he might prop up with a question, how long have you been waiting, and whatever may be your answer, and he may ask you, okay, tell me what all did you see in the waiting room. Now what is he? I mean, if you are a person who is inquisitive, you will see what photographs are hanging on the wall, what is it about, which aircraft, which this, which that, how many magazines are there on the table in front of you, and something you would have observed. But if you are going to be sitting there and shooting bricks, oh my god, kya hoga, and coming under stress, obviously you are going to miss out the essential part. No, so wherever you go, be alert, be alive, be inquisitive, Keep asking questions, find out answers for those questions, and make it a habit. Whether it serves the purpose of SSB or not, it is going to serve a lot of purpose in your life, in your practical life. There are some interviewing officers. Everybody has his own style of finding out, and that's why I'm saying that focus on the principles, focus on what I'm saying, rather than memorize these questions, memorize that, and find out this. It's not going to work. You need to inculcate this as a habit of asking questions, finding out the answers for it, and you see your imagination will grow leaps and bounds. Some entering officers suddenly will say, "Okay, tell me what is the measurement of this room." That's it. You're finished. Some candidates will get foxed. Oh my God, how do I tell the measurement? Right? But then it's damn easy. If you just need to count the number of tiles towards the length and the breadth of the room, and now the question comes, and you should know the measurement of the tiles. And that should be a common knowledge. That should be a common knowledge. If it's a small tile, you should know whether it is 12 inches by 12 inches, or it's a bigger vitrified tile, you should know that it's 2 feet by 2 feet tiles. And if you measure the number of tiles approximately, you will be able to easily tell him as to what is the measurement or what is the floor area of this room. But what happens? We don't know. We don't know the measurement of small tiles. We don't know the measurement of big tiles. And you don't have to, to be very honest, you don't have to memorize these, or you don't have to put in any extra effort. But if sometime in your house there was some modification being done, some civil work being done, and if you were a little more inquisitive, you would have found out. You would know. You would know naturally. Right? And if suddenly he says, okay, if you're told the floor area, and he said, tell me the volume of this room. Now, obviously, you cannot, there may not be a proper way to measure the height, but approximation. You should have the approximation. Normally, a room is about 10 feet height. Okay, fine, you don't know that, but you know your height. You know that you are 5 feet something, right? And you know how much is 5 feet something. So, can you not look at the height and say, maybe it is twice your height? So this is so many feet and this is so many feet. But then if there are small tiles, it's 12 inches. Now inches into feet. Now these are normal, common things that you have studied in your, elementary schools till about 8, 9, 10. So when you fault on such things, then obviously it's not going to impress the SS. Now people talk about the GTO as if it is something out of the box, or it's so difficult. Everybody says GTO is the most difficult. Now I wonder why. All that, the difficult part in the GTO, apart from GD and all that I'll come to later, right? Apart from that, when it comes to PGT, HGT, command task, final group task, where you have to use a certain given resources, and you are at the start line and you have to reach the finish line along with your team, right? Now that's the challenge. Now what is it? You can't touch the ground. There are certain rules. You have been told. And there are certain structures. All you need to do is use the material logically without violating the rules and go forward. I find it damn simple. There is no rocket science in this. Absolutely no rocket science. Anybody who finds this rocket science, he just needs to understand one concept called the cantilever. Right? All you need to extend, because there are certain distances you cannot jump. You need to bridge the distance. And what you have a plank or a pulley with you. Right? It's as simple as that. So now you need to extend that plank without touching the ground. So if you have to extend that plank, you need to support it somewhere. And the rear end of the plank should not go up. Right? It's as fundamental as that. And we all have played the seesaw when we were young kids. Seesaw, all of us know, two children on either side, and it goes up and down. And you fix one end, it becomes cantilever. It's as simple as that. You come to have fun, I'll teach you, and I can tell you this is the most easiest thing that it doesn't require any teaching. I get surprised sometimes. So you have to rest the plank somewhere so that it doesn't touch the ground, and the rear end of the plank should not lift up. If the rear end doesn't lift up, the front end doesn't touch the ground. As simple as that. So what is so great in it? Right? So it is not great. But what happens, most of you come there with thinking that SSB is the thing and it is the ultimate thing and it is the most difficult thing. So you are looking for something very complex, whereas the solution lies in simplicity. The solution is very simple. Do not make things complex for the heck of it. It is not, right? It's very simple. A few things that, the principles you must understand. Now you talk about the abstract tasks of the GTO. Many of you find the GPE most difficult, the group planning exercise to be the most difficult, and I see no reason. Basically, there are 4 situations, and you need to prioritize these situations. Okay, and there are certain resources. Some of them are given to you obviously, and some of them you can imagine based on your experience of day-to-day life. If you are standing on the road, and I'm sure all of us have stood on the road or we have moved on the road, we can assume that there are some vehicles which are there, which can be there, and I can take a help. I can stop a vehicle just for a lift. These are some assumed resources, right? And what do you need to do? You need to solve those 4 situations within the time constraints, right? Now, I'm just giving you a random example. Okay, you're on a dhaba and you find that suddenly the kerosene stove exploded and the cook in the dhaba sustained severe burn injuries. If you are standing there, what would you do? I'm just asking you a question, very simple question. And at many times I get surprised. Some candidates say that we'll give you first aid. We will rush to the vehicle in which we came. We'll take the medical kit available in the vehicle and give him first aid. Please understand the situation. Cook kerosene stove which exploded. Kerosene stove exploded means a lot of kerosene that must have spilled, and he has sustained serious burn injuries. It's given in the situation. And what first aid will you have in that first aid box of your vehicle? At best, a small tube of soframycin. And where all will you apply that? Is that the kind of reaction that you should give? Is that what you will do if you are standing on the spot? You will not do that. I know most of you will not do that, but then I don't know what happens, from where you gather these ideas from all kind of sources, and then you give this kind of responses. So please do not be impractical. Do not give a synthetic solution. Be practical. Assume you are standing there and it is happening in front of you. What would you do? Now you need to prioritize those 4 issues. Now I keep running GPs, and I just give you 2 situations. There's an old man who just fell unconscious, and he's unconscious. He's an old man. He fell unconscious, and suddenly somebody comes up and he says that his wife is pregnant and she needs to be taken to the hospital, otherwise she'll have a miscarriage. And I find most of the candidates running towards women, or that second issue, that she needs to be taken to the hospital because she's carrying a baby and there are two lives involved. But you tell me, if you are practically understand this, you are standing there, you have an old man who has become unconscious, he's on the ground. Would you prioritize him? And what does it require? Hardly anything. Sprinkle some water, give him a cup of tea, he'll be all right. But people tend to give second priority to that old man and give first priority to the lady. I don't understand. She's in labor pain. She needs to be taken to the nearest hospital. Maybe take another 20-30 minutes to reach. Let me tell you, this is your awareness that a lady can be in labor for a few hours before delivery. Now that is awareness. That is your, it is, you should be knowing this. You become a graduate, perhaps in a few years you will get married and become a father. And you should know this. This is general common knowledge. But you put the whole priority in different order. This is how it's all related to your day-to-day experience. There's nothing out of the world. You do not make things complex. Right? Be simple and position yourself there, and look at the whole situation from your eyes, not from the eyes of somebody who has taught you something, or somebody who has written. There's so much of content written by so many people who failed in SSB, passed in SSB, never served in SSB. Unfortunate, right? So don't go beyond that. Be your natural self. And I can tell you, naturally, most of us are average human beings. For God's sake, do not underestimate yourself. We are all at least average human beings. And we don't want anything more than average human beings to be selected in the SSB. We are not looking at Einstein's. Right? We want a normal human being. Having said all this, let us come to the next OLQ, which is about reasoning ability. This is very interesting. Okay, and let me tell you, there is a very sound correlation between reasoning ability, effective intelligence, and organizing ability. Okay, and in fact, I would put reasoning ability, or we have been taught, and most of us will say that reasoning ability is the mother of all qualities. It starts from there. Everything starts from there. Right? I'll go back to the same analogy of a child putting his finger into that hole, getting a current. So he knows. You put your finger in the wrong hole, you are going to get penalized. Larger learning. And if you put your finger into the hole which looks like this, there are 3 holes or 2 holes, you will get a shock. What is reasoning ability all about is your ability to find the cause and effect. The cause and effect. What causes what effect? If I put my finger in this hole, I'll get a current. So putting the finger is the cause, current is the effect. Right? Again, you see, this comes out of your day-to-day experience. Right? Let us grow over this child and let us take another example. Many of us, suppose there is suddenly you are sitting in the classroom and the electricity goes off. What do you do? I ask this question to many of my students. So we will draw the curtain and we will continue to attend the class. So I said, what must have happened? Tell me the reason, what must have caused this electricity to go? Say maybe the supply has gone off, but then there is electricity in the next building. Maybe the fuse has gone up. Yes. So if the fuse melts, you will not have electricity. Cause, effect. Right? This comes out of where? This comes out of your day-to-day experience. And you see how this is linked to knowledge, right? The knowledge is, if I put back this fuse, I will get electricity in my classroom. Yeah. So what do you do now? How do you put back this electricity or this fuse, right? All those who have been inquisitive, all those who have experienced it, all those who have participated in such things will know that any electrical wire, if you remove the sleeve and you twist the core and you connect the fuse of both ends of the fuse and put it back, electricity comes back. The conductivity or the connectivity is complete. Now, obviously, somebody who has not bothered about it, who has not been inquisitive, who has never participated in these kind of things, who has never tried this, he will not know. So, the later part that you need to look, oh no, the later part that you need to connect these two ends of the fuse and put it back is knowledge element coming out of effective intelligence. And because the fuse has gone, hence there is no electricity comes out of your reasoning ability. Very closely correlated. And you now you introspect on this and you at least list down 10 examples where what you have done, what you have seen being done, whether there is whether there is reasoning ability, and there has been effective intelligence. You will see that there are 10 examples of your own life you can write. So reasoning ability is very fundamental. It's there everywhere. Right? Now, then, you see how this gets translated. Okay? SRT says that there is an accident between two vehicles, one person seriously injured. So one person says that he will rush to the spot and give first aid. How? I don't know. From where he's got the first aid, I don't know. And take him to the nearest hospital. Now, I don't know how. Right? The other guy says that he'll first note down the number of the vehicle. Why? See, ultimately, this is going to be a medico-legal case. Which are the vehicles involved in this accident is going to become a essential part of this whole episode. This comes out of your experience. This comes out of your RA. And if suppose the vehicle has hit somebody and has fled away, or it is moving away, or it is it's a hit and run case. So obviously, if you are standing by, you should first note down the number of the vehicle even before you rush to the person, because then you will be asked as to which was the vehicle and you will not know. That is what? What is that? What is that? That is RA. And then what action you take, right? And the SRT may specify that is profusely bleeding from his head. So what can you do? Can you take a piece of cloth, wet it and put it on his head, compress it, and then put that person in another passing by vehicle, take him to the nearest? That's important. That's important. What exact action have you taken is important. You can't simply say that, give first aid and take him to the nearest hospital and that's it. No, I mean, that step is important. That's why we say in SRT, though it's called this situation reaction test, write your complete action. But then there is a time constraint. So you can't think and write, it has to come naturally. And you can write very, very cryptic form and small forms. A few points, few words. Right? So it all revolves around what you have read, what you have seen, what you have heard, and what you have done in life. So my advice to all of you is get involved. Get involved. Don't be that kind of a bookworm, reading, studying, Academics, academics, academics. It's not going to help. Well, you may be IITian. Well, that's your luck. You may even join the IAS. Your luck, right? But then please understand, these guys fall back on you when there is a national emergency. When during the Commonwealth Games, when the bridge broke down, it was the army which reconstructed it. Imagine. I mean, so many IITians, so many IAS, so many other services, IES, Indian Engineering Services. Why army? A railway bridge collapses in Mumbai, railway bridge. Why army? There's a flood in Mumbai. Why army? Why navy? That's the reason, right? And that's exactly the reason. We are we pick people who have these skill set. Why is it so important for us? It's very important for us because most of the time in the armed forces you will be working in the most unpredictable environment. The resources are not known to you. So whatever is available there, whatever is the situation, what is available, how I can use these resources effectively and achieve my objective. That's why we pick people with high effective intelligence and high RA. So if you have to be joining the armed forces, you have to be a physical person. You have to be a person who's very inquisitive, asking questions, and be on the field rather than on the computers. Theoretical knowledge is not going to really help you in this, right? Now from here, let's move on to the organizing ability. And let me go back. What is organizing ability? Your ability to put available resources to best use in order to achieve your objective. Let us go back to the same example of electricity going off suddenly, and you find that there is electricity in the next building, and your RA says that your fuse may have gone off, hence there is no electricity, and your effective intelligence says that if you have a conductor and if you can connect the two ends of the fuse and put it back, you will get the electricity back. Now comes the role of your organizing ability. Now what do you need? A piece of conductor. Look for it. Where can you get it? Right? Go to that nearest source, easiest source, but without violating any norms, rules, or whatever. Right? So get a piece of conductor, get a piece of wire, remove the sleeve, twist it, connect, put it back. Well done. Got the lights back. This is how all these three work in tandem and in planning and organizing things. And this is true. Now what I gave you very basic, simple examples that you can relate to, right? Now you take any event of your life, be it your sister's marriage, brother's marriage, be it your organizing an event in your college or in your office. See what you have done. You have only done this. You have only done this. And there are people today, in corporate offices, those who give this out of box, what they call out of box is very normal actually, right? Very practical solutions, quickly achievable solutions, and they say, "Oh, very bright guy." You put a problem and he comes out with a solution. I'm sure you all will be able to relate to what I'm saying. So it's nothing but be be on the ground, be physically involved, participate in events, activities, and have that inquisitiveness to ask questions, find out, and grasp what is happening in and around you. Read, watch, hear. And I'm telling you, you will, you in any situation. And let me tell you, I personally believe today I'm an old man and I have gone through all phases of life. And I can tell you, I have nothing to do with healthcare. But today I am running a healthcare campus with about 1,000 odd bedded hospital. I have nothing, no background of healthcare. So it's all about this jugaad, what we call in the forge. It is all about jugaad. You should know how to handle a situation, and it's not very difficult, right? So organizing is only this. You have certain resources available to you. You can assume some resources, or you can find some resources. How to use those resources effectively and achieve your objective. Now, how does this get translated in the various techniques? Now, if you are, taking a psychological test and the solutions, there are certain images in TAD which are problem solving images. There are some images. I told you in the previous this thing I talked about negative images. There will be some images which are problem solving images. Suppose you see the image and you perceive a problem, and then you write your solution to that problem. That solution will tell me whether you have the RA, effective intelligence, and organizing ability. Right? Now let us go back to the same example of Shreyas Dio. Fisherman community, boat, water, darkness. See the effective solution. See the solution that he produced. See how he organized. Everybody is suffering this. Someday or the other, somebody is going to get a scorpion bite or a snake bite. So, gathered everybody, collected resources, and put up solar lights. Right? Sees awareness. Right? So, there are no frequent payment. Not that you have to collect money from everybody every month to pay for the electricity. There is a solar level. Go on natural resources. Right? So the solution that you write, because he perceived a problem of snake bite and scorpion bite, so he came out with the solution, and the solution was very logical. See, he organized the community, got the resources, and put up solar lights there. Very good. Similarly, in the GTO technique, particularly when you're talking about the practical tasks. Now, a lot of people, they wonder about the individual obstacles of the GTO. 10 obstacles, and they all think that it's more to do with physical aspects of a person. And let me tell you, it is not. It is more to do with the factor one. You are planning and organizing. What is the task? 10 obstacles to be done in 3 minutes. Start from anywhere, finish from anywhere. Objective is score maximum points, right? Any rational human being, when there is a constraint of resource, which is time in this case, and the second constraint could be his own stamina, he would like to pick up the higher points first. Yeah, obviously. So even if he is able to do only 4 5, he has scored more points. But what is so apparently simple does not appear simple to most. And when he is choosing to do higher points, what is the path he takes? Where to start from? Where to finish? If you are going to be crisscrossing that whole or individual obstacle ground, you're not approaching it logically. Obviously, you're not a intelligent guy. You don't have effective intelligence. You're not understood the purpose of the task. Maximize your score. Time constraints, stamina constraints, your physical attributes which are in constraint. So use your RA. If I start from here, I'll be able to do this in quick time. These many of them. Time permits, I'll do the rest. And organize yourself. So at every stage, if you see, there is no task in the entire SSB which is meaningless. They all have a meaning, and they all are again and again and again and again and again and again checking all these 15 OLQs in some form or the other, in some way or the other. Now I keep saying, in PGT, HGT, the tactical task, PGT, HGT, command task, HGT, for FGT, use your resources optimally. If you can find a solution using two resources, don't use the third one. If you're overusing your resources, that shows the limitation of your RA, OA, EI. Smartest guy is the one who will be able to achieve the objective with least resources, isn't it? And this is exactly what we focus upon. We don't, when students come to AFPA, we don't teach them the tricks. There are no tricks. We teach them how to optimally use the resources, how to use the structures optimally, and how to achieve your objective with least resources. There cannot be shortcuts, and there are no shortcuts that can be taught. Anybody who tries to teach that, well, you'll be lucky. Now we'll switch over to or before we go there, I have not touched upon the interviewing technique and how they assess the organizing ability. Typically, the interviewing technique is about exploring your background and seeing whether you had the right exposure in life. Right? The co-curricular, extracurricular activity that you may have participated in schools, colleges, were you actively involved? Were you involved in organizing any events? Were you involved in organizing any socio-cultural activities in your community? What does that show? If you have been naturally brought up like that, if you have participated in these events, you have naturally learned the ability to organize. You may not be the perfect organizer, but well, you have organized. So you must have learned your own lessons. And we can fine tune it. We can train you further. But if you are the kind who have never done anything in life, sir, I have not participated in any co-curricular, extracurricular activities. Obviously, then, right? Then you have not got the right exposure. Sir, in our society, we don't do any common functions, so I have never been part of it. Bad, right? And if somebody has participated in sports, and the interviewing officer might ask you whether, tell me if you were asked to organize a basketball tournament or basketball match between the two houses, how would you go about it? You need to logically answer that. What are the various steps? What resources you have? How would you use that? And how would you organize the whole event? Now, is this rocket science? If you have done this, you will say. If you have not done this, then you will bluff. Or you will say, no, sir, I don't know how to do it. So the key is your exposure, your reading, your awareness, your watching the television, meaningful programs, your hearing, right, your senses with inquisitiveness. Because a lot of things we see, a lot of things we hear, a lot of things we read, but if you're not inquisitive, we will not grasp. And if you don't grasp, this kind of reading, casual reading, does not really help. You have to be observant wherever you go, whatever you do. Why this, why not this, why like this, why like that. Mind should be constantly asking questions. And these are the people who come out with beautiful solutions because they develop the ability to ask, rationalize, oh, come to a solution. Right? Have you understood this? I hope you have understood this. The last quality in factor one is your power of. Now we as social animals or social human beings are social animals, right? We don't work in isolation. We are not robots. We are people with emotion. And particularly in the armed forces, you are always surrounded by people. We are looking at you or we are looking to select you to be a leader. And unless the leader is able to express his thoughts, his ideas freely in a manner that everybody is able to understand, he will not be able to lead. And power of expression, if you ask me as to, somebody may ask me as to why has this been included under planning and organizing, with nothing to do with planning and organizing, my answer is it has got everything to do because in the armed forces you will plan and organize and execute any task with people, and you being the leader of those people, you need to clearly brief them, clearly communicate to them what you want. And that clarity comes out of your power of expression, the way you express. Now, this has multiple things. There are three things at least. One, your verbal communication. How do you communicate? Two, your written communication. How do you communicate if you have to communicate in writing? And three, your body language. If you're talking something and your body language is showing something else, there's going to be contradiction. And in all the three techniques, this is assessed very easily, right? It starts right from your screening. And let me tell you, the biggest Waterloo today is power of expression for most of the candidates. Unfortunate if you think it is so, that you have to speak in English, right? See, today Indian Armed Forces is not an armed forces of a state. Today Indian Armed Forces participates or works with other foreign armed forces, and the common language of communication is English. Throughout the armed forces, you'll find most of the communication happens in English. It's too bad if you think so. With your junior officers, with your colleagues, with your senior officers, you'll always communicate in English. And with your Jawans, you will speak in English, Hindi. But let me tell you, in Air Force and in the Navy, increasingly the Jawans are so well educated that we tend to speak in English with them and they understand and they respond in English. You can't run away from this. So your command over the language is essential. Brevity, clarity is very important. You should communicate briefly to the point. And if you're going to be very verbose, using too many words to convey your ideas and thoughts, not good enough. And this can be seen right from screening. When you sit for your discussion or your narration, when you narrate your story, when you discuss, we'll come to know. Psychology is the only technique where your written power of expression is checked, or it can be checked. It is checked. And again in GTO, group planning exercise, where you have to give your written solution to us, we get an opportunity to see your written power of communication. You have 2 rounds of GD, I can see your communication anytime, power of expression. There's a lecturate, I can see your power of expression. When you are interacting in a group and you are briefed that you need to speak to each other in English, However, whenever you get stuck, you may speak in Hindi, but come back to English as soon as you can. It means predominantly you need to speak in English. So when you communicate with your group members in group activities, when you are giving a lecturate in English, when you are participating in GD in English, you come to know. And interview, well, you are there in front of him for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. He's going to ask you questions. He's going to fire rapid questions in front of you in English. You need to answer. This is one essential skill you need to develop. Now, again, let me tell you, this is not rocket science. This is not rocket science, and I have been telling this, and I have seen students, my own students in AFPA, who have done exceedingly well. They just took this to their heart and they worked hard. I can give you an example of Raj Patel, a young boy from Gujarat. He's in the Naval Academy now. He studied in Gujarat, never spoken English before. Right? But, and I'm sure you go to my YouTube channel, AFPA YouTube channel, there is an interview that I had taken of this boy after he got recommended from SSB. And you must watch that video. And he still speaks very slowly. But you see, there is brevity, clarity, confidence in that candidate. That's very important. And it is not very difficult to learn spoken English. We do not expect you to speak very flamboyant English using big jargons and heavy words. No, simple communicative English. Should be able to construct simple sentences. Good enough. And I can suggest to you very simply. And let me tell you, when I was a young boy, when I was going for the SSB, I was not a great communicator. What great communicator? Hardly spoken to anybody in English. I studied in a normal school, lived in a normal locality. But once I knew that this is important and I am aspiring to qualify in the SSB, I worked a little hard. What did I do? We had Doordarshan news those days. I used to sit and watch English news. I used to listen to English news in the radio. I used to read newspaper. Luckily, my parents were educated. They could understand and converse in English. So I requested my father that from today I will speak to you in English. He was more than happy. Right? So do something like that. How did we learn Hindi, or how did we learn our own mother tongue? Basically this. By speaking, by reading, by hearing. Please do this for 6 months and you see the difference. Now, if you're going to tell me that I don't have 6 months before my SSB, that's too bad. I can't help you. But try till the last. And I'm telling you, every practice will help you. Even if you have 1 month, 2 months, do it. And let me tell you, whether in SSB or not, this is one skill that's going to be required in every sphere of your life. Whether you go to the corporate sector, you do a business, wherever you go, it is a thing. This is the thing that is required. You should be able to express yourself easily, briefly, to the point. That's it. Start this. And if you want to develop this, I will give you a methodology. Pick up lecturate topics. Prepare the content. Stand in front of the mirror and speak. It has multiple advantages. It will develop your content, knowledge content. It will develop your communication. It will also develop your confidence. Do this and see if it benefits you. Don't get disheartened after 1 or 2 days. Try it for a month and see. If it doesn't work, call me and let me know. Well, guys, with these words, I would like to close this webinar. I think it's gone a little too long. But if you have had the patience and if you heard me sincerely, I am quite sure you must have understood what I am talking about. I'll just summarize quickly. And I say that first thing, SSB is not a rocket science. And I always tell my students, an idiot like me could do it. You all can always do it. Two, be inquisitive. Find out, ask questions, find out. Not for the SSB, not for the sake of SSB. Be like this all your life. You will learn a lot. You will grow a lot. Your imagination, your ability to, uh, understand a situation, coming out with solutions, all this will improve dramatically. Involve yourself. Don't be a bystander. Involve yourself. Be it home, be it an office, be it, just involve yourself. Be in the forefront. Do things yourself, and don't do that mechanically. Do things yourself and also keep on learning out of it. The last is start communicating in English. Read newspaper. Develop good reading habits. And don't read fiction. Read what is real. Watch some very interesting TV serials. Watch news. Listen to debates. It adds a lot of value to you, right? With these advices, I would like to close today, and I'll come back again next week with the next three qualities, very important qualities of Factor 2. Thank you. Jai Hind. I hope this session helps you.